In this guide, we're going to go over the steps of adding existing inventory that's already in the showcase or in the vault. From the main menu, we're going to be choosing the inventory entry section. However, please note that before you add inventory, it's important to make sure that your vendor list and your class code lists are already in place. That'll be in a separate guide, but very briefly, if you choose maintenance menu and vendors, this is the screen where you can see your vendor list or you can add new vendors. Also, from the maintenance menu, there's a place where you can check your minor class codes and your major class codes. On the major class code list, you can review the list here. At the top, you can choose options and report major codes. And you can see the pre-existing list. And from here, you may want to delete some, add some. So back to entering inventory. From the main menu, we're going to choose inventory entry. The first section that comes up is the Receive Inventory tab. This is not the one you'll use for old inventory. This is the tab you'll use for receiving shipments that arrive, such as from UPS or FedEx. Over here is the tab for Enter Existing Inventory. Inventory that's old is entered in batches. Because it is a mix of merchandise from different dates and different vendors, we don't need to enter it vendor by vendor as in the normal receiving screen. Instead, we enter it as batches, which can be a mix. We're going to choose Add a New Batch. This is going to assign a batch number. This doesn't have very much meaning, but it can be useful later for printing tags for batches that you entered yesterday morning or this afternoon, etc. There is a box here for the date. You can change the date on each piece, but if you're entering merchandise from a certain showcase and it's all approximately the same date, you could type in the approximate date. So I could, for example, type in November the 1st, 2008. Here is the default location code. So again, as with the date, you can change the location of each piece, but very frequently for old merchandise, you'll be entering it case by case. So I could, for example, put SC1 for Showcase 1. Down here, it says, do you want to assign your own SKU numbers? This is something you'll only do if your old SKU numbers from your old system match the same way the SKU numbers work in Jewelry Shopkeeper. You can check that if that's the case, but for the most part, you'll probably let Shopkeeper assign a new stock number. Down here, we're going to actually start adding inventory. We click here, and now we get the grid where we can add many items. You might want to enter 10 or 20 or 50 pieces at a time. You probably don't want to enter a batch of much more than that. Makes it awkward to tag if you have a string of hundreds and hundreds of tags. The first box that is highlighted, you can see the pink highlighting box here, is the manufacturer code. If I put the mouse over it, it says manufacturer code. You'll also notice above it highlights MFG. So here we can select a manufacturer code off the list. You can also type it in. Next, we want to type in the style number. This is your supplier's style number, and that'll be maybe on your old tag or your old inventory list. Type in the style. We can tab to the next thing. This is the major class code. Again, the major code you can drop down from the list, or you can always type it in. Wedding bands. This is the minor class code. Some people don't use minor codes, but if you do, you should put that in. We'll say gold filled. Over here is the description. This is the basic description that's going to go on the price tag. So I can type in ladies 14 carat wedding band, and I can type in the size 7. Again, there is room for much more detail later on. This is the basic description for the inventory reports and for the price tags. Next, we have the cost. That's your cost in-house. We'll type in $175. If you have set up some markup factors, it'll suggest the selling price. However, for old merchandise that's pre-tagged, you'll probably have an exact price that you want to type in. So we'll type in $3.99. Over here is the quantity. In most cases, it's 1. But for some items, such as watch straps, you might have 10 or 20 or even more. Over here is the location code. As mentioned before, it's going to default to the code that you specified earlier, but on each piece you could change it if necessary, but we'll leave it as SC1. And then we'll choose OK. So that's adding a piece. You can continue adding more and more pieces. Up here, you'll notice that a SKU number has been assigned, 109-30365. The 109 part came from the major code. That's the number of the major code. And the 30365, that's the next available sequence number in that major code. It doesn't mean so much, but is the unique SKU number for that piece. On any individual piece, if I click back up here, you can add extended details, and that would be such as appraisal information. I could click here for notes, and you could type in an appraisal, extended details for very complex pieces, center stones, side stones, precious metal contents. If it were a loose stone, perhaps a certified one, you would click on the stone details, and here you can type in all the details for this piece. Even a grading report or a certificate number. When we're done, we'll save that and we'll return to the grid. So you can add as many pieces as you like, and when you're done, you can either choose Save or Price Tags. Either way, it's going to take us back to the previous screen where we could then print price tags and continue on. There will be another guide going over these steps in more details. This is the quick guide, so you can get going quickly.